Hey everyone, welcome to Moms in Real Estate. I'm Angela Fazio.
And I'm Kristen Cantrell. And today we're talking to an amazing mom from Canada. You guys, her name is Chalsey Bugeaud. We called her Chalsey Bugeaud.
But she's anything but bougie. We cannot wait for you to hear about not only her transition from most of her career being in new home sales into residential real estate, not resale. And then, but wait until you hear her personal details. She is fascinating. So welcome, Chalsey. We're so glad to have you today. Give us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so I've spent the last 18 years in new home sales. I'm in my sort of late 30s, 38. I'm really proud to be getting up in age. It's only I guess, more exciting transition as I get older, I feel. But I've been in the industry for quite some time, now transferred into the resale side of things, which is super exciting for me. It gives me a little bit more time to be flexible with my 12-year-old daughter. And it's just a really exciting adventure. It's new and certainly learning a lot, but a lot of what I knew from before coming into this has played a huge part in being able to talk to people about residential homes, building new homes, construction, sort of the back end things that people, when you're looking at new homes, you kind of think of like all the icing stuff, as I kind of call it. And being able to have a background in the cake is really, really helpful when people are looking for a home.
That's a really
good analogy.
Yeah, it really is.
Wow.
Was it hard? Like, yes, there's so many things that you brought in from being in new homes when you did the leap and went into residential, but was it hard for you to make that leap?
Yes, it took a couple years actually. The security of being in a show home and so there's two parts to that. So there's the security of like actually having the benefits and that side of things, but then there's still you're still a commission-based employee. So you're only, I guess I could say, you're only good as your last sale is sort of how I always felt. And really kind of diving into this side, it was a big transition, but one that I wish I had have done probably years ago. And who knows if it would have been the right time at that moment, but it took me a couple years to kind of finally decide to make the jump and just give it my all. I really wanted to do things my way now. And I found a really sweet spot in this market and just being able to kind of have my clients back instead of sort of being that middleman to go between the builder and your client trying to appease all parties. This side, you're just, you can do for your clients. And that was super important for me. I often gotten to struggle with the builders that I was with because I really, really fought for them when I thought that something was owed to them.
Yeah, you know what? We hear that quite often with people who transition from the new home sales side. And the other thing I hear is like, there's just points in your career where you don't want to just sit there passively waiting for something to happen. You want to go after it if you you have the choice to go after it on the resale side, right?
Absolutely. I've kind of been an entrepreneur at heart for my entire life. I've always kind of wanted to do my own thing. And then where there is, flexibility and you're, sort of your own business in the show home, this is such a world of difference where you can really create your business how you want it. You can pick the people that you want to work with. I always think of it's a relationship that I have with these people forever. And, I love that I get to choose people that have the same values as I do to work with. And those are the people that you just naturally attract that type of clientele when you're able to kind of put yourself out there and just be raw with everyone and honest, I guess, be yourself. And that's kind of how I sort of entered this. And I love being able to have the friends and relationships that I have now just because of what I'm doing.
Well, and the other part of it that I know that you're very happy about is going from, not seeing your daughter as much as you'd like to now it's all on your own terms.
Yeah, exactly. I felt like I was a bit of a slave to the show home. And when I had Addie, she's 12 now, but when I had Addie, I didn't take a maternity leave. I think I took maybe 5 weeks off and kind of got back into it. Not that I had to, not that the builder that I was working for made me do that, but I felt like I was going to lose the area that I was so comfortable with and that was so close to home for me. And so I wanted to make sure that I was able to, if I needed to be home in 10 minutes, I could. Whereas if I took a year off, I would have been, going to the north end of the city. And that was a really big factor for me. And now our relationship is better than ever. I can't imagine not being as close as I am with her. We do everything together, and she often loves to come with me to do all my real estate filming. She tells me that she's she's my photographer, she says. So
photographer. Yes, of course. You guys, listen, I gotta just pause for a minute. We could probably do Chalsey part 1, part 2, part 3. This woman is so interesting. We have to get into some of your personal details that absolutely blows my mind. So first, let's see, where should we start?
I want to start with the motorcycle.
Okay. Tell us about your motorcycle.
Okay. So he kind of took some time off of riding, and then recently purchased a Breakout, which is a pretty nice Harley. I'll have to send you guys some pictures. But anyways, and then the year after that, I really loved riding always, but I never really rode motorcycles on the street. We always had dirt bikes and things that we rode. But then for my anniversary, for our 14th anniversary, he bought me my first Harley, and it was called an Iron 883, which then I later named the real estate business that I have, Iron Realty, after my motorcycle. And Addie and I and Jay we've always loved riding together. We take trips out to sort of a little small town from where we are out there to have some drinks and have lunch and stuff. So fairly shortly after that, I hit some gravel and I crashed my Harley. And I kind of roughed up my arm and had a lot of scarring. So I ended up tattooing and getting a full sleeve to kind of make it pretty again. And I got 3 roses on the outside of my arm for each one of us. And that's
oh my gosh, I love that.
Forever. So.
Show again, because it's so pretty.
Okay.
If you're listening to the podcast, you need to go on YouTube and watch this part. It's too pretty.
They're so pretty. Yes.
So that's super interesting.
That's how I got started.
Okay, so also tell where you live.
Yeah.
I live in the country, which is so Calgary, Alberta is it's a pretty booming city, but we live about 12 minutes south of Calgary, kind of in between Okotoks and Calgary. So I always loved being in the country, and it's just so amazing. I mean, I'm looking out my window trying to describe it to you, but we have 5 acres of land out here, and it's absolutely stunning. It's just being in nature. I find if I can just kind of get back to nature, I feel really, really settled as just trying to human this world.
Isn't it funny how nature can do that? I have a cabin up north because where we live in Arizona, it's so congested compared to what we're used to from growing up here. But the minute I get up north, I get this my stresses go away. Nature I don't know what it is about it, but it can just be so calming,
I agree. Yeah. And what's interesting, Chalsey, is my husband and I got called to speak in Calgary. I don't remember how long ago this was. And it's the first time I'd ever even thought about going to Calgary. What a beautiful place. We drove out to Banff.
Yes.
Yes, yep. Banff.
That's that
whole area was such a shocker. Down that little cute Calgary's so cute, and out around it is so beautiful. So I'm not gonna lie, not in the winter, but it is a beautiful place.
It can certainly be a little chilly in the wintertime, but it's so close to the mountains, and it's such a clean city. I've honestly I don't know where else I could go that I would be happier to live, other than the winters can be a little cool. But we also find really fun stuff to do out here in the wintertime. We have quads, and we go tobogganing behind. Jay pulls us behind our 2-seater quad, and cool. We have big bonfires, and so I just, you just kind of make it what it is. And I think that this is a really interesting place to live, where we can kind of have access to all of the things.
So how is the real estate market out there? And kind of tell us a little bit about, you building your business from your background. How has that looked for you?
I came into it having a lot of clientele from homeowners and people that had built with me over the years. So I kind of felt like I had a little bit of a head start in that sense because I had a bit of a database. The market here is absolutely wild. It's unlike anything I've ever seen. Homes are selling, $100,000 over asking price. It's just a very competitive place right now. And on the building side, like I really love the building side, and I love to help people build their new home. I do think that people need representation when they're building a home, and somebody that's experienced in this side of things, because there's a lot of things that maybe aren't said during the building process that need to be addressed. And getting into the building side, there's such limited inventory for land that it's a real struggle even trying to find opportunity to build a new home. So having somebody kind of in your corner to search for land opportunities, or sort of have the back end knowledge of what's coming up in certain developments, is really important. But
I think it's fascinating. Yeah. You're the first new home person, though, it may not be true of them, but you're the first new home person that we've spoken to that literally speaks to understanding the actual building process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know that everyone does that.
It's really important for me to really make sure that my clients understand, like, this is where we start. Then we need this. Then you talk about this. Then we talk about building specifications. What do we look for during the building process that's really going to, make or break the home? Are they insulating properly? Is the electrical done? There's certainly home inspections that are done throughout the process, but there are always things that are missed. And if we're not walking through the home on an ongoing basis, it's like you want to catch things before they're an issue. And I mean, it's happened even when I was in new home construction, that we would walk through the house and be like, oh, that light's in the wrong spot. Like, it's so much easier to address things during construction instead of, you take possession and then things go wrong. Mm-hmm. But I think the knowledge and having, I hate to say having me as your realtor in building a home, but I mean, it's just anyone that really has the experience of building and knows the construction process as well as I do, or somebody that's been in the industry for a long time, is good.
Yeah, I just commend you, though, because I am 100% sure that not all new home salespeople pay attention and care to learn to the depth that you have. Mm-hmm. So that's fantastic for your clients.
Yeah. And I feel like a lot of agents get in our industry and they don't even know what to do when it comes to a new build. It's not like a popular class. It's actually a class I put on because I never see anybody else doing it, where we actually go to the new builds and tour them. And I have like the inspector come out and everything, because I just feel like no one knows what they're doing,
No, they don't. And there is a lot of new home sales people that are very new to the industry. They're selling a home, they're selling a thing, and they don't necessarily know how the thing goes together. We recently had this experience with one of my clients building a home here in Calgary, and we're going through the initial set of drawings that are going to be released to construction, and the vault is missing, or the walls are 8 inches wide and they shouldn't be. There should be 2x4 walls. Like, why did that? Just little things that knowing what I know is helpful to provide input and change some of those things and make sure that they're caught.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's awesome. I'm so impressed. I'm so impressed. I love true professionals.
I don't know. That's just my job. So it's just my day to day. So.
Okay. So I'll tell you another thing that impresses me about you is how intentional you have been in building relationship with your daughter. I think our audience needs to hear a couple of, what I mean by that, and like a couple of things that you do to intentionally make communication really on point with her, et cetera, because I am sure I need the tips, right? And I'm sure our audience does as well.
Well, I think with Addie, in her younger phases, yes, in her younger years, we didn't have as much time together, but then kind of getting older was really important for me, because as a girl, growing up, I was always really close with my mom, and I wanted to make sure that Addie and I had such an open line of communication that she could come and talk to me about anything. And so being open with your kids, and, we always think we have to shield our kids from hurt and things that we're going through. And I find if I open up and say, this is really bothering me, or this happened to me and it really hurt my feelings, or this is how I this is how somebody addressed me, and it didn't sit well. I think that just relating your own experience to your kids in a way that they think it's normal to have all of the emotions, no matter what they are. I think some parents often try to shield their kids from hard things. And, it's like, then we're not teaching them to be human. We're teaching them that, we're bottled up and we don't cry and we don't, have difficult emotions. And I found that, like, if I am more open and just raw with her, that she will understand and she will be okay with having some of those same emotions and interactions, even as she goes through her middle school and high school days. So we really talk a lot, like a lot.
Wow,
and I'm
that's
sure
awesome.
I'm going to get that spicy attitude from her, but I hope I don't. I mean, if I can kind of just.
Oh, you will.
I know.
You can't avoid it.
The day is going to come. I know it. And I was like that, to my mom. And we, as teenagers, we know everything. And so
I know.
And our hormones are crazy, so we're mean.
Well, and she said to me the other day, she was like really crying and upset, and then she was mad, and then she was like a whole plethora of emotions. And she was like, Mom, I just don't know what's going on. Like I'm mad one time, I'm happy, I'm sad, I'm laughing. I'm like, don't worry, kid. This is just normal. This is hormones.
I'd love to say it goes away. Sometimes
sometimes it rears its ugly head again.
Yes.
Like, being so relieved that this was like okay to feel all these like different emotions in like a time frame of 10 minutes. Like, oh, it's all good. You're fine.
It's a lot.
It is a lot. Yes.
So yeah, her and I are super close, and I'm so excited. I'm so thrilled that she's such a cool girl, and I can kind of talk to her as a friend as well.
Yeah, I think that that's such great advice. I think that it's a reminder and great advice for me, I know, because sometimes it is hard to explain to your kids what's going on, but I really do think it's a lesson that will serve them well throughout when they're growing up. I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. They just need the truth. That's all.
That's right.
And that's kind of how, like, and I can tell you're like this too. Like, you're very authentic and raw. And I feel like, that's how we live our life. But sometimes it's like, you feel like you don't want your kids to like feel that, but you do. Like, I don't know. I think that was really, really good advice.
Yep. I think so too. I'm humbled by the way that you are like forming that relationship with your daughter. I also love your story about not ever even wanting kids, you thought. And now here you are, absolutely in love with this
My husband was like, girl. Kind of gave me that ultimatum when we met on a blind date. Kind of another randomness.
No way.
But we met on a blind date. We've been married for 17 years. Awesome. And he always wanted to have a family. He wasn't ever really close with his family, and I was, but I wasn't like, I don't know, I just didn't know that I wanted kids. And he was like, well, this is kind of a deal breaker for me. And, we had our one, and I'm just thrilled with how everything turned out. And I can't imagine it any other way. But yeah, you just kind of naturally fall into your home, your place, and it just works.
Well, you exude confidence, and I love your story and how you've shared so many personal parts of you. I thank you so much for being on the show.
Yeah, thank you so much. You've brought so much value for sure.
I do. I agree. All right, you guys, listen. 2 times a year, we have a women's seminar. 2 times
Flourish.
a year.
You guys have heard it. You've heard us talk about it. It's so fantastic.
So you always want to look at our Moms in Real Estate Instagram for up and coming dates, or theflourishevent.com to see either what you just missed or what's coming up. And we just want you ladies to be involved. We have, as you hear today, we have amazing women that we interact with, and it's an awesome opportunity to meet some of those people face to face. So thank you again, Chalsey, for being a guest. It was
thank you.
It's
such an honor to talk to you ladies.